I'm talking about the biggest lie in history. If you're looking for somebody jumping off a bridge or something like that, this is not it. This is for people who are aware of and are interested in extreme narcissism, psychopathy even, who've been bullied, want to return challenge into opportunity. This is for those folks, because I believe this story can really turn America. Check out on the other side, please. Basic psychology of today, because I believe a lot of people are confused and a lot of people are being led astray. A lot of people are being led the wrong way, and we have to understand the psychology of our times on a deeper level. And this story, because it stretches so far, and I would not give up, provides the opportunity, to really understand things on a deeper level. And so the essence of it is around 1988, as I say, 36 years ago, my younger brother at root. And yeah, I'm going to go into family, to gory details in a way, because I believe the truth. It's such an intense story. I'm originally Jonathan. My younger brother is David, and those are two biblical names. I believe it could be a biblical level story, and so we can learn a lot from stories like these, and both in terms of the opposition and then the opportunity. And so what happened is that my younger brother from 3,000 miles away essentially really began this cycle, and I have to credit or did potentially discredit his wife too, because the two of them seemed to join together with this psychological assault on me. And I was not aware of this, and many people may not be attuned, that there are people in this world who really draw energy from other people psychologically. They're really not, for whatever reason, I'm not just saying my brother and his wife only, but there are not people who are not psychologically whole enough to say, I have a purpose, I'm going to go out into the world and do everything I can. They need an enemy. They need to attach themselves to someone emotionally, and that's where people reference things called like narcissistic supply and this kind of thing, where they need a reaction from others in order to to kind of thrive in their own disturbed way. And I think additionally, my sister-in-law, I think she had a real and a dire need to be the best and strongest and smartest in every situation. I believe that was her familial background. She went to Harvard Law School, reached the upper levels in terms of Harvard Law and this kind of thing. But I think she sensed in me someone who, and this goes back again 40 years almost, that there's someone who could be smarter than, and I'm not saying I had an interest in being smart. I'm just saying her radar was, well, he could be smarter, and that way it could be a threat to me or something like that, where that's not my mindset. I'm me, you're you. Let's be us in the best ways that we can be. Even before I had emotionally, developed in a lot of ways. I don't think I ever entered life with a sense of, I need an enemy in order to interact in a situation. But the two of them, going back to when I had a marital separation at the time, temporarily in 1988, they kind of honed in on whatever my perceived flaws were. And ironically, I was a young buck, and, I had run for the first time for Cambridge City Council, missed by 132 votes, got elected, for 3 terms. So I was really doing things that, my father, who went to Yale Law School himself, said, oh, this is the greatest achievement in the family, which I didn't think it was, but it was a tough thing, and I was doing good things. But somehow, they saw an angle to really attack me and psychologically assault me. And what I'm getting at, why I say it's the biggest lie in history, is that it's gone on since that time. And the facet is that people like that have this capacity to turn entire families, like even seem like entire villages, almost entire commonwealths against you. That they take this grain of truth. Okay, did I ever, with 30 some years ago, could I have ever had a little anxiety, depression? Does every human being in the world ever experience anxiety? Did I use it as something to learn about 30 some 40 years ago? Yeah, we all have none of us are perfect, right? And that's the difference, by the way, between, healthier folks and psychopaths, extreme narcissists, is that, we can have, if a person has a neurosis, a falling down, and a depression, it's not aimed to harm another person. And that's a dividing line between people, and people who with extreme narcissism use their mental health challenges to harm another person, either intentionally or recklessly. So they began this psychological assault, kind of like, oh, something's wrong with him. In essence, what they were doing in hindsight was trying to set a ceiling for my life, that I could never grow, even though my brother became a, relative, well-known, tenured professor at UCLA, and she continued on at USC, professor of law. So they were all both achieving, and they're 3,000 miles away, right? They're both achieving in their own way, but they still needed an enemy. They still needed that false superiority to say, well, we're better than someone else, and we need to attack him. And so what makes it the biggest lie is that, on any basic level, and they were told this 36 years ago, there was nothing wrong, structurally wrong with me or anything of the like, but they somehow they could, there's people who could take the tiniest little fleckle, they say a mountain out of a molehill, and just zone in and attack. And why it's the biggest lie is that they got this whole family situation. My parents, I feel raised me in a good way when I was growing up in Scranton, PA. We had 4 grandparents. We held this very intense sense of family behind me. My parents started to believe it, and everybody kind of went with it because it went into it. Then I eventually, 8 years later, went into a divorce thing with these 2 wonderful children, and everybody started attacking me. And whereas I knew it wasn't, my, so it's 50-50 kind of thing. But then the courts, you take with the family's zeal to crush me, to emotionally kill me, and the unfairness in the courts, and everybody is coming at me. And what I'm getting at is that lie, that my brother, and as I went on to, found a nonprofit, executive director, get elected, all these, that my brother is just like, I won't even say adamant, I mean just bloodthirsty insistence that something was wrong with me, convinced us and because my style, as you can see, is a little more laid back, is conversational, where theirs, along with his wife, is absolutist. And, you have to believe them or something's wrong with you. And so I'm taking the sense that people who are more disturbed than you can rally people, can coalesce people to attack relatively innocent people. And that's what's gone on. And so, what I'm getting at, and why I call it the biggest lie in history, is the ferocity of this assault. So, what really distinguishes this as the worst lie in history is that it went on for 40 years, and I worked to overcome it over that time, and the power and also the irrationality of it. And just what I'm getting at is people's kind of jealousies or insecurities, how they can motivate them, how they can inspire them to act hatefully, even though they don't, maybe they don't want to, towards other people. And which elevates, me to this notion of compassionate genius, and that, to see both the genius, the accuracy of it, and to bring some compassion to it. So I want to shift gears and talk about our training, coaching, and mediation, and how you can become a societal champion, and really under this umbrella of goodness is strength, right? Because what I'm really getting at is that The antidote to narcissism and the way to defeat it ultimately is to find your purpose, which is what we help you do, is to delineate your goodness and develop that. And it's not an easy battle always, because for us, societally and individually, it's not easy to defeat narcissism. It takes a very consistent effort, potentially over years. It takes endurance. And that's how we show the world that we really care, that we're for real. We have integrity in what our aspirations are because we stick with them when challenges come up. So those who encounter these most negative things, great lies, hardships, you have the opportunity to become what I call a societal champion. You're kind of picked or chosen in a way to overcome this great adversity and to elevate. What's happening is you're really elevating yourself to a much higher level. I mean, throughout all that happened to me, I became a remarkably different person in the process, which is what we talk about. So I really do, I want to in part expose this lie. I also want to point towards, the process of turning lemons into lemonade, of becoming a societal champion, of doing the work with us for one, to help you find that inner champion, that purpose, that goodness, and to utilize that as I can, generally advocate to the world to see that our goodness is strong. This is the real fight in society. It's not as much Democrat as Republican as some would want to make it. Other legitimate issues, to me, it's more the narcissistic versus our goodness, but the purpose. What are we here for? And there's got to be commonality and and collective sense of oneness, at times, in our aspirations. So, go to our website, take a look at what I'm offering, and there are lies. I bring this out, maybe to encourage those who've participated in them to see a different light in their lives, and to really educate, people in the innocent people who can be affected and not know that there is this, I could call it a virus, the strain of thinking in our society that does attack other people for no reason other than other people's, psychological shortcomings. So, and the antidote again is purpose, is goodness. So I want people to be aware of this and definitely to encourage you to get the training with us.